to correct one thing. I'm not the ultimate troll. I only troll Stephen A. All right, now to one of the biggest wild cards in this year's NFL draft. The landing spot for Colorado star Shedeur Sanders still up in the air just 1 week out from the big day. Shefty breaking down Shedeur's potential landing spot. Adam?
Now, let's start to think and wonder about where Shedeur Sanders is going to go in the, well, Laura, that is the spot that makes the most sense. But would there be a team that jumps up in front of the Steelers? Do they value Shedeur Sanders enough to do that? Would the Giants go ahead and take him at 3? Because right now, it certainly feels like his range, which is a wide range, wider than most players in a draft, is 3 to 21, and I don't like the chances of him going 9.
Meanwhile, Pittsburgh is clearly still in the mix for Aaron Rodgers. Okay, so here's the question. Would Rodgers be a good mentor for Shedeur? Going to you on this, J-Mac.
No, I didn't know you were looking at me.
No, sorry.
Absolutely. I look at this for Shedeur Sanders. You can't take away what Aaron Rodgers has accomplished in this league, the multiple MVPs, the Super Bowl ring, to still be playing the game at 40 years old. For Shedeur Sanders, you get in, whether Aaron Rodgers speaks to you or not, you get to witness what greatness is right in front of you, and that's an opportunity that everybody doesn't get. We look at Caleb Williams last year, drafted first overall. Another young guy, a second-year quarterback in his room who was still figuring out the NFL as well. So for Shedeur Sanders, you get a guy like Aaron Rodgers who's in your quarterback room. You get to ask him questions. Why did you make this read? Why did you throw the ball to this spot? How did you work on your accuracy? The all-platform throws, the being able to do things outside the pocket. You get to ask him all of those things. I remember having a quarterback, Jacoby Brissett, when we were in Miami with the Dolphins, and he would sit in the quarterback room, and he would ask his quarterback coach questions at times. He said, but then there were moments where Dan Marino would come in and would just sit in the quarterback room. He said, whenever Marino was there, I would ask him any and every question I had about playing the quarterback position because he had done it at such a high level. For a young quarterback coming in the league, to have Aaron Rodgers, to see and watch him every single day, you're not going to get a better example of what it is to play the quarterback position at a high level. Whether he can still do it or not physically, being able to take from him mentally will be a huge, huge upside for Shedeur Sanders.
J-Mac.
Talk to me.
You know good and damn well that ain't the reason this question's being asked. Ain't nobody questioning the credentials, the acumen, the cerebral brilliance of an Aaron Rodgers. You're questioning the willingness to teach, the willingness to prep somebody for a career that he has enjoyed for the better part of the last 2 decades at a very elite level. That's all. And when you think about Shedeur Sanders, like, when I say no, this is not throwing any shade on Aaron Rodgers. He hasn't been perfect. There have been things that I've been critical about of him in the past, but for the most part, I'm the guy that coined the phrase, he's a bad man, because he was. And Aaron Rodgers will always be special to me. That brother was something special. Until Patrick Mahomes came along, I thought from the talent perspective, Aaron Rodgers is the greatest quarterback I'd ever seen in my life because nobody could do all the things from the quarterback position that he could do until Patrick Mahomes blessed us with his greatness. Having said that, when you are on camera acknowledging and admitting you've got personal issues that you have to deal with and that you just don't know whether you're going to retire, you're going to play or whatever, that's not somebody I want my young quarterback exposed to because at this particular moment in time, he's devoid of that passion, it seems. It's not throwing any shade on Aaron Rodgers. It's simply pointing out that we all reach a point in life, Mike T.
That's a good point.
J-Mac, Molly. I'm just talking about where you are at that particular moment.
I really think that's a good point.
Yeah, I see it differently. And let me take it to 2008 in the New York Jets. Brett Favre was really disappointed how things ended in Green Bay, but he had great things to say about this young up-and-coming quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. And it's been well reported that when Aaron Rodgers left the Packers and went to the Jets, he had a really good relationship with Jordan Love. I think both sides would say that. And actually, I see it differently, Stephen A., from this standpoint. Aaron Rodgers knows about his football mortality. And let's say this plays out in Pittsburgh where they draft Shedeur and sign Rodgers. I think Rodgers knows part of his legacy will be what he can sort of teach and be a role model for Shedeur and that'll last long after his playing days. I know from being around teams where we would have guys like LaDainian Tomlinson, Jason Taylor, amongst many others. To J-Mac's point, I want Shedeur to see when Aaron Rodgers goes out, how he hydrates, when does he use the cold up, how does he take notes. There's so many different ways behind the curtains that Rodgers, either directly or even indirectly, how he comports himself. Shedeur can learn a lot for, hopefully the next couple of decades.
Well, the indirect part, I'm with you. In other words, watching him and watching how he moves. Yes, I was speaking about directly. In other words, there comes a point in time with all of us, you're just in a certain place and you're not in a position to really articulate a message in a mentorship kind of role to somebody else. Sometimes you're just not there.
And the energy to do that. What do you say to that, J-Mac?
And I understand that. But I even take for what I'm doing for a living now. The fact that I get to come on this show and I get to see how Molly goes about her day when she's here hosting.
Impressive, right?
Extremely impressive. I'm like, how does she do it every single day? The fact that I get to come on here and argue with SA and see the way he does TV, the entertainment purposes, the behind the scenes. Whether you guys were talking to me on the break or talking to me on an off day, I get to witness it up close as Mike T looks across from me. I mean, I get to hear Mike T.
What do you learn from me?
I learned
He's
a lot.
waiting for me to say I learned something from him.
But hold on a second here. That's a fine. I mean, like, my gosh, like that entire testimony has to be purged from the record. Let me just say something much more fundamental. Look at the Green Bay Packers guys, right? They had Favre, they had Rodgers, now they have Jordan Love. If we're running the Steelers, if the four of us are running the Steelers, I would go see Aaron Rodgers in Malibu, and I would sit down, and I would talk about your legacy, and we have a Hall of Fame coach, and we're going to draft Shedeur Sanders, and you're going to win for today. You don't have to be in the offseason program, Stephen A., because you're dealing with other issues, but when you're in, we expect you to be all in, and part of your job description in 2025 is to help mentor or fill in the blank. Shedeur Sanders, Jackson Dart, whomever, and when you're done playing, much the way Brett Favre took a lot of pride in your development, we want you to take pride in the development of the next great Steeler quarterback. And from a Pittsburgh standpoint, that's ideal because you have a chance to win now. You have two great receivers. You have a Hall of Fame coach. You still have a good defense. So to me, I think there's a way you can approach Rodgers to get him in the right mindset and to hopefully impact him in a way where he wants to be there. My concern, to be candid, though, and I think what Molly said earlier in the show was, you see, I'm taking copious notes when Molly speaks, is that the way he said, maybe I am interested in playing, like, that's not the mindset you need to be an effective starting quarterback.
Yeah, let me just say one thing really quickly. We've all covered a lot of drafts. I feel like there's so many question marks still. It's going to be so exciting.
Absolutely.
I mean, maybe you obviously know more than I do, but I feel like there's so many spots we're still unclear about, even at the top. So it's going to be really fun. All right, we'll keep it rolling. Number 2, number 12 will officially be untouchable in Colorado history. The Buffs will...
Xin chào cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Ngày hôm nay mình sẽ tiếp tục hướng dẫn các bạn làm vòng và hôm nay của mình sẽ có tiêu đề là cần cẩu. Mọi người, hôm nay vòng của mình sẽ có tiêu đề là ô tô. Bây giờ mình bắt đầu làm nha.
Của anh bỏ bao nhiêu ngày làm rồi? Bao nhiêu ngày làm không làm?
Xếp tít. Hôm nào ra đến đây cũng nhắc. Hôm nào ra đến đây cũng